Steph, thank you for welcoming me to your beautiful studio.
Thanks for calling.
I think about life as a series of crossroads. And for you, I think back to 2013, the winter. You're at Toronto FC, and a call comes, and you end up in Seattle. How? And how did that change your life?
We get that call from my agent saying that Sounders is very, very interested. And the first thing I thought of was like the Sounders that have won so many Open Cups. I was excited. And the more I talked to them, I saw their vision, I saw what they saw in me. And sometimes, especially when you come back from an injury, you're not really full of confidence. And so for them to reiterate how confident they were in me, it sounded really amazing. Then we made that move and we're able to obviously win a few trophies since then, and that's what it's all about.
More than a decade later, we often think about what a player can give a club. What have the Sounders given you in this last decade?
Obviously a successful career. I think goalkeepers in particular got to be a bit crazy, but for the most part, I think goalkeepers find joy in helping others. You're the last guy that will throw themselves in the path of the ball or a player and sacrifice themselves for the greater good. You do all that because you want to achieve something. I'm exceptionally blessed to have been able to be part of teams that have been able to win things. If the meat and potato and the hard work that you put in is not fun, then you wouldn't last. This is now 12 years for me with the Sounders.
You have more than 400 appearances with this club. It's a very rare club to be in this league. One moment, what's your favorite moment as a Sounder?
It has to be the biggest accomplishment, and that has to be winning Champions League at home. You're a little boy kicking the ball about and dreaming of playing in front of a packed stadium, fans chanting your name and achieving something, and then maybe doing your knee slide and enjoying it, right? But when that actually happens, it's surreal. Champions League for me has always been the holy grail. Obviously growing up in Europe, it's the UEFA Champions League, but CONCACAF Champions League is ours, and we were able to achieve that.
I've read that Oliver Kahn was your hero growing up. If you think about your time in Seattle, the 12 years that you've spent, there are thousands of young goalkeepers that probably think of Stefan Frei in the same way that you thought of Oliver Kahn. What kind of legacy do you feel you've left here?
If that's the case, then that's everything I could ever ask for. I remember watching VHS tapes of Oliver Kahn and Peter Schmeichel, that's how old I am, doing exactly that, sacrificing themselves. The crazy face, I don't care if I get a bloody nose, I'm gonna do this and we're gonna win this thing. And that's what I've kind of been trying to do throughout my years. I'm very passionate about what I do. I try to do it to the best of my ability. I try to respect everybody while I do it too, but on the field sometimes I turn into a different being. I'm a very reserved guy off the field. I think I'm more of an introvert, but on the field I like to win, and I try to do everything I can to win. And so if any of that rubs off or motivates a young goalkeeper to go on an amazing career, or just even become a good person with some good values and hard work ethic, then I think I will have done a good job.
So I have a quote here for you from Brian Schmetzer. How Frei hasn't won Goalkeeper of the Year is a travesty. Does it ever rankle you that you don't have that trophy on the mantle in the house that you built in this city?
It's more of an accolade. I'm thankful that I've had the actual trophies won with the team, because those matter. Or I would say in the beginning of my Sounders career, those were goals. You want to become Goalkeeper of the Year. But I think I kind of learned to tweak my goals a little bit, have things in mind that I can fully control on my own, or at least I can do in my sphere of influence with my teammates, with my coaches. And that has led me to have a chance to win trophies. Again, going back to my biggest achievement, Champions League. I was able to win that as goalkeeper of the tournament. And I think also I got player of the tournament. And as a goalkeeper, that's very, very rare. That was a big moment for me.
You're 39 years old. I'm not rushing you off the field.
You weren't supposed to say that.
This is the house that you will eventually retire in. What comes next? What replaces soccer in your life?
Nothing. Nothing will replace something that you have done, I can remember. Really organized at 6 years old is when I really started being a goalkeeper and fell in love with that position. And it's made me who I am. The attention to detail you put into everything as a goalkeeper, you cannot just separate that from your personality. It becomes in part you, and you see that in my art as well. And so I don't think I can fully disconnect when that time comes.
You've been on some wonderful Sounders teams. Where does the championship DNA that courses through this group come from?
You think you need to have a little bit of history that makes the players feel There's a high standard that they need to live up to. It helps if you have players that are veterans that have experienced some of those things that are able to maybe elevate the standard. You always need young guys as well that are hungry and wanting to make a name for themselves, right? If you have that mix and positive environment, and for the most part, I think our fans have always been very, very positive and supportive of us rather than focusing on the opponent maybe. You sprinkle in some skill, some Obafemi Martins or something like that, and you got a winning formula.
You wanted to study architecture and art in college and you didn't get to do it. It feels like you're making up for lost time. What does this space mean to you?
It gives me a chance to follow another passion. I want to inspire other people with this too, to show that, hey, you can follow your passion. It requires a lot of work, but you can achieve things if you put your mind to it. Hopefully I can make this into something that when I'm done playing soccer, that I can stay passionate about something else like art.
In the art world, who or what inspires you?
For me, it's a lot of expression. In my art in particular, there's a lot of goalkeeper on there because it is part of me. It's my personality. And sometimes in my art, it's that struggle of relinquishing power and letting nature maybe melt colors together. But then at some point, you'll see the goalkeeper come through with precision where I get my rulers out and I make sure it's as precise as it can possibly be.
There's duality to all of your art. As I look through it, I see a messiness underneath that's sort of covered up by, as you said, a precision, an attention to detail, an exacting sort of standard that you are forcing yourself to meet. How does that duality speak to you when you paint?
Yeah, it's a struggle. It's a struggle to let go. That is maybe, the goalkeeper having consumed me over the years and have really shaped me into something that just wants to control as much as possible to make sure nothing goes wrong, right? But the beauty of art too is that things really can't go wrong. Okay, maybe the final few steps you want to have the way you do, but a mistake can lead to something beautiful. I've never seen a goalkeeper make a mistake and someone's like, that's beautiful. So with art, that just alone having that feeling of that pressure subside and go away is liberating. It feels amazing. You can splash some color on and see what happens. In a way that balances me out. As I'm playing, as I'm the goalkeeper in one part of my life and I deal with pressure, I can balance it out by being the artist that has structure and tries to follow structure, but it knows that there's no boundaries, there's no rules to follow. I can do what I want.
I've heard you talk about graffiti a lot when it comes to your art. When did that sort of fixation on graffiti come into your life?
Really early on. I mean, I grew up in a small town of 7,000 people. And once I upgraded from our local team to the local professional team, St. Gallen, I had to take the train there. And so I remember peeking out of the window and you see pass by train yards and you see graffitis. And for me, it was always, man, look at this beautiful nature, very serene and calming. And then you have this bright pink thing, just kind of almost disrupted, but they're both beautiful in their own way. And so a lot of times I try to put some bright colors into my pieces because that's when my love for art started.
I have a favorite piece, two favorite pieces, Euphoria 1 and 2. I love the explosion of color, the use of white as sort of a negative space, but it's also that line on top and the shadow. I think of a golden angle. Is there a golden angle for you when you put these lines on the paper? How are you determining where and when those go?
My art is abstract. In many ways, but even in abstract art, you can put elements into the paintings that are familiar for people. And sometimes even if you're looking at art, sometimes your brain can tell you that you understand things, but you couldn't even spell it out and understand why you understand it. But a shadow, gives you a reference. You've seen a shadow, you know what a shadow is. Well, where is a shadow? Does that mean, okay, this line is now moving this way? So you're understanding, your audience is understanding something that they've seen a million times, even though it's now in an abstract world. And so embedding those elements sometimes, you can kind of guide the audience the way you want them to look at a painting. I just posted a picture about the progress of my latest piece and someone said, hey, I love this piece, it's my favorite. I don't know why it speaks to me or how, but it's doing something for me. And I love that. It's my expression and it's causing an emotion or a train of thought in someone else.
Do you have a piece that stands above and beyond in your own estimation?
No, I don't have a favorite piece. I think there's a famous artist that once said, artists strive for perfection knowing they'll never achieve it. And maybe that's why it works really well for a goalkeeper, because we're sort of the same way, We make mistakes all the time. I've never played a perfect game, but I try to work towards a perfect game. And so that's why you keep doing it. And in art, it's the same way. You evolve, your style changes, you express yourself differently. That's a beauty. I really like that. I'm excited to see where I end up in a few years. It might be completely different. I think there still be that sense of what you've already noticed, and the struggle between control and uncontrolled. I love the progression, and I'm excited to see what's next.
Okay, Steph, tell me what we're looking at here, your latest work.
Yeah, it's a commission piece. I love commission pieces because they give you instructions, and sometimes you kind of hit a roadblock, it almost seems, and then you have to fight through it, and that kind of gets you to progress as an artist. Otherwise, you might get just stuck in your same ways. So this one was like, we want mountain range. For me, I'm not an organic, I'm an abstract painter. I don't really do organic shapes or things like that. So this was a challenge, but I really enjoyed it.
Why is it that the geometric shapes and the exacting nature, the demand for perfection is so ingrained in your idea of being a goalkeeper?
People, when they see us goalkeepers play on the weekend, they're like, oh, he made the save. But like what we focus on during the week is not, can he make the save? It's, where's your foot? Oh, your foot is a foot too far to this side, you know, or your lean is too forward or too negative, or your hands are just slightly off. So the details that we focus on is like to the smallest detail. And so this comes out here, and especially the way I create my geometric shapes with tools like I have right here is exactly that. You know, I'm sitting there with my now glasses because it's such small detail, and I make sure all of the distances are exactly the same. And so the precision, yeah, this is the goalkeeper coming through 100%.
I just see so much precision here, whether it is the spacing of the lines, the angles that you've chosen, the way they correspond, even the thickness of the lines. How do you make these decisions?
I love technology, so for me, a lot of times when I am done with the underpainting and I know, okay, my next part will be the goalkeeper, I take a quick picture of where I'm at currently, and I have the luxury of going on Illustrator and Photoshop and really start messing around with things. And to me, over the years, there's definitely a hierarchy, and there's certain lines or combination of lines that I think evoke certain emotions when it comes to my geometry stuff. And yeah, everything is very, very intentional. I mean, to the point where I end up printing out that sheet, and sometimes this one is quite basic because there's a lot of things going on already, but when it's very intricate, there's maybe 10 of these sitting on the canvas because there's 10 layers that are about to get on, and I try to have them exactly where I want them to be. But that's, again, that's the way it was ingrained as a goalkeeper, that you go through these steps and you try to go through them as perfectly as you can. And I find joy in that.
What does that feel like to have that goalkeeper world come into the art world for you? Are you sitting here with your tools of the trade? Is that just sort of satisfaction incarnate for you? 100%.
I'm really proud of myself when the parts where I try to relinquish power come through. But where do I find the most joy? It's definitely in the goalkeeping. It's in the precision, 100%. That's just, again, like we said before, that's part of my personality. Even long after I will have hung up my gloves, I will not be able to surrender that part of me. That's just who I am now. And so I think it definitely comes out in my art pieces.
In goalkeeping, I understand the moment of reward for you. It's that final whistle, it's a clean sheet, it's a victory. What is the moment of reward in painting? Is it seeing your painting being displayed? Is it putting the final touches on it? Is this just the process? I think in the end, when you're done and you get to varnish the piece and all of the colors really come out, and again, sometimes you're talking about 10, 15 layers of paint. So at the very end, when everything comes together, that's my favorite part. It's always nice, especially if you're painting for someone else, to see their reaction. Hopefully it's positive. That was how I fell in love with art, is looking at it and feeling good about, you know, oh, that bright pink graffiti that I just saw made me feel some certain way. And if my art can do the same thing, then that's what it's all about. What's next for you in the art world? Well, after this piece, which has, again, just kind of changed my trajectory a little bit, your brain's already kind of moving to the next thing, you know, what if we incorporate this element that we've just learned and we mix it with this or that? So I'm super excited that next year, big soccer year, you know, World Cup coming. I will have my first public showing at the library here on Bainbridge Island. So I already have some thoughts, but I need to make sure I translate them onto the canvas so I have something to show. Well, Steph, thank you so much for welcoming us into your beautiful studio, your beautiful home here on Bainbridge Island. And I look forward to next year, Bainbridge Island Library. I'll be there, man. Sounds good. Thanks for coming. Thank you.